we have somebody with us who's been on the podcast in the past and is a fantastic. We're really not worthy, but we want to bring back Essdras Suarez. Essdras, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Muchísimas gracias for coming back on us again.
De nada. Muy agradecido. Very thankful. Appreciate it.
And I should mention that Essdras is originally from Panama, but you're in Alexandria now?
Yes, I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, just south of D.C., a couple of miles from the Pentagon.
Good. And also want to mention, in addition to many other honors, that Essdras has 2 Pulitzer Prizes in journalism and journalistic photography.
Yep.
And so that's why we said we're really not worthy, but thank you so much for humbling yourself.
I enjoy spending time with you guys.
And I've been with Essdras. Originally, we met in Havana, Cuba. Well, actually in Miami, but in a fantastic trip through Cuba. And then a year later in Cuenca, Ecuador. And I believe that was the second interview we did with you, was in Cuenca.
Yes, correct. It was in Cuenca, yeah.
So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you talk a little bit about yourself.
That's a tough one, because when I'm talking about myself, there are usually photos being put on the screen or something. A photographer is best to keep his mouth shut and just let the photos speak for themselves. But I'm originally from Panama. I kind of a late bloomer in photography. I didn't really pick up a camera until my early 20s. It was a spur of the moment kind of thing. I was going to school in University of Florida at the time, and I was studying journalism, specializing in magazine writing with a minor in zoology, because I thought I wanted to work. That's how I would get to National Geographic.
Wow.
And I was really struggling, English not being my first language. Now it's much better. Back then, even though I went to a private school, not that expensive in Panama back in the day, and I knew all the grammatical correct way of speaking, and all the colloquial language is completely different, and having a mastery of the English language in total is what you need as a journalist. So I was really struggling, and my advisor, who was my introduction to journalism writing, said, the director of photography for the National Geographic is alumnus of the college. He's coming to visit, and he's going to meet with some students. Would you like to go out to dinner with him? I'm like, no, I got nothing to do with photography. She's like, you're going. And that one dinner changed my life. We were talking. He said I had better chances to ever working for them if I were a photographer. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'll become a photographer. I applied for an internship. I got it. Turns out that I had potential. God bless those that can see beyond the obvious, because I couldn't see it. But he thought that I had some potential. And after having that experience, spending a couple of months in the jungles of Panama, Costa Rica, and Colombia as an assistant to a couple of photographers on assignment, I knew that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the rest is history.
And I should mention that the Pulitzers you've gotten, that was with the Boston Globe?
The first one was with Denver Rocky Mountain News.
Oh, Denver Rocky.
The first one, that was with Columbine. Mm-hmm. And the second one, it was the coverage of the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013. And
you've had additional honors beyond those as well, though.
Yeah, there's some headliners are Robert F. Kennedy's, News and Design. There's a bunch of awards there. When you work for newspapers, they enter you in a lot of competitions. And I kind of, once I left newspapers at the end of 2014, I kind of stopped entering. So I really haven't. But you can take the man out of photojournalism, but you cannot take the photojournalism out of the man. Having said that, remember when we went to Ecuador, I was so excited because that very same day that I flew to Ecuador, I ended up getting a photo of Congressman Steve Scalise, getting shot across the street from my house. And I was the only person that got it. The next day when we woke up in Ecuador, the local paper had my photo in the cover.
What was interesting is we were getting packed up and had the news on that night, and your photo appeared on the national news, and with your byline, Essdras Suarez. And we're all excited to go, Essdras.
Mm-hmm. Once you get involved in that world of photojournalism, once you get bitten by the bug of being a photojournalist.
You can't stop.
It kind of stays with me. I am not a photojournalist full time anymore.
Right.
But if there are news happening in front of me or in my town, I will make it a point to go chase it. So it's, I love it. It keeps me on my toes. If you can be good in the middle of chaos, you can be good anywhere.
And I want to mention that if anybody out there, you get a chance to join Essdras in a workshop, jump at the chance, because you will learn a lot from this guy. And I know I did. I thought I knew it all, but Essdras proved that I was wrong.
Thank you.
Actually,
I truly...
I was going to say that probably my weak point is doing portraits or street photography.
Right.
And you brought me out of my comfort zone, and that was a very, very good thing.
To me, there's nothing more interesting than other people. Mm-hmm. We human beings, we're wired to pay attention to other human beings. So a very good friend of mine in Israel told me something once that it kind of finally explained to me. She said, Essdras, you just happen to be a very curious person that uses their cameras to find out what's going on as a kind of a key to enter anywhere. It's true. As long as I have my cameras on my shoulders, I would walk anywhere and ask anywhere, hey, what's going on? And what is that? How come that happened? That's just me. I'm a chatty cat. And, the cameras just make it a lot easier for me to do that.
Well, I want to say also that you're quite philosophical, and you do a lot of yoga. You have other interests which really work well with your photography. So why don't you spend a few moments and talk about that as well?
So, let me start with a caveat that this is wisdom acquired through the ages. Mm-hmm. I'm no spring chicken. So, as you get older, you become wiser. Also,
well, some of us do.
That is true. Some of us do. Some of us don't. And the more, so my whole life I've always worked out. I think it stems from the fact that I was a chubby little kid. And when I started noticing girls, the way they would notice me back is they would grab me by my fat cheeks. Oh, you're so cute. And that kind of bothered me a lot. So I had an uncle who introduced me to working out the Charles Atlas Isodynamic Tension course. He gave me that as a gift when I was 13, and it just happened to be right at puberty, and it just took off from, your body changing and start working out, and I really liked it. Later on in life, when I was in the U.S. Air Force, I was having a physical, and they said, well, your scoliosis is not that bad. I'm like, my what? So, yeah, look at this. And it showed me an x-ray of my back. And I'm like, what is that? That's your back. I'm like, that's not my back. I have a very severe scoliosis in my back. It turns out that the only reason why you can't really tell is because I work out so much. And while I was at the Air Force, they told me, we can fix this two ways. You are now 20, and we human beings stop growing at 21 or so. Right. So we might have caught it too late, but we could actually put 2 steel rods along your spine. We'll secure them with 4 screws to your head and a halo. And for about a year, you got to walk around like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I'm like, really? And is that going to work? They're like, well, we don't know. It's a 50-50. And anything else? They said, well, you're going to end up with 4 holes in your head, and they will always be there. I'm like, so what is the other option? He said, well, you could just keep working out, keep your muscles strong, and they serve as a scaffolding for your spine. And I'm like, that's it. And so I've always worked out. But as of late, as of the last 5 years, I'm in this crazy kick that I want to see how many days continuous can a human being work out? Even though I started 5 days ago, I only start counting from the moment that I haven't missed any days. And the last time I didn't work out was August 17, 2018. So I have been working out straight. I just finished my 755 days straight. So anyhow, to me, working out has nothing to do with aesthetics anymore. It has to do with functionality. And as photographers, especially if you're a photographer that is willing to do anything and everything for a photo, it behooves you to be in great shape. We carry big gear around us. Mm-hmm. I am now a social media influencer for the Nikon Z7, the mirrorless. It weighs nothing. I'm not used to walking around with a camera so light. But my regular gear, it's a couple of D5s or D4s with a heavy lens on each side, a zoom and a telephoto. So, and all day long you carry that big gear, and then the waist bag with the extra gear and stuff. And to me, it's very hard for me to not. I don't understand when people don't that like photography don't go out of their way to stay in good shape, because you could get hurt. Your shoulder. A lot of people suffer shoulder impingement. The spine is not quite right because of all the gear that we carry. But if you work out, and it doesn't have to be an extreme workout. My workouts vary from 15 minutes to half an hour, and that's it. Unless I'm teaching this yoga, which is a yoga style that I created, but that's a different thing.
I would ask too, since you're using a mirrorless, how do you like that mirrorless compared to the DSLR?
Well, I had this talk with Nikon. I said, after I tested it, I took the C7 and the C6 to Israel in last year in October. I went to donate my time for an association that teaches children that are survivors of cancer photography, and it was an experience. And I took him with me. So for 2 weeks that I was down there, I used the C6 and the C7 all the time. And I came back and I told Nikon, look, this camera of yours is 85% good for what I needed, but there's still that 15% that I can't quite get 100% commit to it, which is the speed, how sturdy it is, and mostly the speed. In my DSLRs, I think it, I get it. In my Z7, C6, there's a minute, but once it reacts, it's still not as many frames per second as my DSLRs. And when you're covering a news event, when you're doing street photography, it's all about what happens really fast. So you have to be able to get it right away. So, I'm enjoying walking around with a C7 and I asked them for the 14 to 30 4.0 S lens, which is equivalent to 17 to 35 in the big DSLRs. And I love that lens. The files are rocking amazing. The starburst effect is one that I've never seen. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that the back element is so close to the sensor and the mount is so big, but I love doing it. I end up doing a lot of starburst photos because of that. But I like it. But like I said, it depends. I would recommend it wholeheartedly for the aficionado, go for it. But if you're going to be photographing spot news, sports, I would then be a little bit leery about it. Yeah.
Well, one other thing too is, and we've had a number of other professional photographers that we've talked to recently. And of course, that's COVID-19 and how that has affected the business and your approach to photography. So, why don't you talk about that for a moment?
So yesterday we did a little test run and we chit-chatted back and forth. I have such a great time talking to you and Carol that that turned into almost an hour conversation. But we touched a lot of topics, and the main one is having to reinvent yourself in this times of pandemic, COVID time. And as my business, EMS Photo Adventures, was that of taking photo aficionados to different parts of the world and teaching them on site in situ when things matter, when you're right there and then. I'm a hands-on kind of guy. That I want to be there when you're making the photo. I don't want to have to go look at your photos after the fact and say, oh, you could have done this and this. I'd rather you get them on site. So I enjoy that process a lot. But I had to cancel a trip to Panama, to India, to Montana, and to Cuba because of COVID. So my business is non-existent. So I've had to reinvent myself, and it forced me to join the 21st century. I'm now much more savvy with virtual teaching. I did a series of 10 webinars. They were free when I was giving them, and they were only about half an hour, and they were all these topics like great composition tips, embracing your wide angle, taking full advantage of the telephoto. So it's a series of 10, and they're going to be on sale on my website as a package or as a single thing. And it's based upon reality in the sense that I truly believe that you learn the best from real life examples. So if I'm going to be talking about the importance of shadows, I will show you a series of photos that deal with that, and I will break them down. This photos work because of separation. This photos work because of this size of moment. But I keep going back to this is the shadow, the importance of them. So it forced me to organize, and I am not a very organized guy, or I wasn't until COVID. So that has forced me to that. The other thing is, because I was with newspapers for 20 years, they did all the selling on my photos. And when I'm on assignment, photojournalist assignments, I do them for Zuma Press, the agency, and they sell my photos. So I never worry about selling my photos. And all of a sudden, I realized, oh my God, I have never sold my own prints. So my new website, which I've been working really hard on, is going to have a print store, and all my photos will be there for purchase, which is something I've heard. So so even though we're struggling, everybody, thankfully my wife has a great job. God bless her, and we've been able to make survive like just like that with her salary alone and whatever little I make. But it's good. The website, I moved everything to one site. It'll be Essdras.com, and I'm sure Jim, you guys will put it in there.
Yeah, we're going to put it down here.
Right across there.
Urge everybody
Right
to go out and
across.
check. Also, you do portfolio reviews too on here,
Yes,
right?
that was the other thing. So the other thing is, I'm doing portfolio reviews, and that's quite good because, the average photo aficionado needs feedback from somebody who knows. Because a lot of times we as photographers, we fall in love with our work because we're artists, and that's what artists do. So you might love that photo that you took of your daughter at her wedding, and you're so proud of it, and you show it because you are emotionally attached to it. You need somebody like me that can look at it without any attachment and tell you, okay, kudos because you did this. Having said that, this photo doesn't work because of this. I have no emotions attached to it, and that's what a good editor does. So I tell you what works, what didn't work, and I give you tips and techniques that can help you take your photography to the next level. They're very enjoyable sessions. I truly believe that the relationship of a teacher and a student, or an editor and a photographer, is symbiotic. Because I learn as much as they do from me, in a sense that some people have very unique ways of looking at the world, and I'm like, I have never seen that. And and it's a great surprise when I'm looking at someone's portfolio, and all of a sudden I see something that I've never seen. It's like, wow, that's impressive. And I let them know. But I don't sugarcoat it. But I am not mean about it either. I am honest. I truly believe that you're paying me to give you my honest opinion and show you how to get better, not to sugarcoat it and tell you, oh, you're good. No. You might think you're good within your camera club, and you might be, but when you come and I look at your photos, the standard is a lot higher than that. So yeah, all of that is within my portfolio. So when you put Essdras.com at the bottom, the webinars for sale, the photo reviews, and the print store will all be there.
Good. So it's going to have everything. It'll have the link.
It will have everything, which is what I needed to do.
Fantastic.
And God willing, when COVID, comes down, subsides, we will start traveling again. Hopefully, I have a feeling it won't be until mid 2021, the earliest.
And again,
we'll see.
Urge everybody to seriously consider that because I know I will be joining you again.
That's right. I know that hopefully to India. But by the way,
yeah. Well, I was looking forward to that. So that was the second time we've had to cancel that. So that's
really yeah. So India, we definitely moved it to 2022 because those poor people are now really catching the COVID.
Well, I understand it's actually surpassed Brazil right now.
That's right.
Yep.
And now only second to us.
Yes. Isn't that great? We're number one.
Yeah. Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Geez.
So,
Fred,
you have any
got questions? You've been pretty quiet there.
I know. Well, I'm just drinking it all in. This guy's done so much. I don't know what to ask him. All right. If you could choose a favorite type of photography, doesn't matter if it made you money or not, but if you could choose your favorite type of photography to do, what would that be?
So let me start with what I consider the definition of street photography, because it would definitely be street photography, but you have to understand that for me, travel photography and street photography are interchangeable. Because a photographer that lives in Paris and walks outside his house and makes a great photo in front of his house, to him, that's street photography. But if I go there and I make that photo, you could call that travel photo. So because they amass such broad spectrum for me, that's what I love doing, street photography / travel.
Okay.
But because again, I love human beings, and I love how people interact with each other. I love how human beings exist within an environment, how they relate to it. And sometimes that has to do with beautiful light, that has to do with the setting, that has to do with so many different things. But to me, it's like very seldom would you ever find photos of mine that are still lifes. I do them, but I never show them. People say, don't you ever photograph doors? I'm like, Yeah, I start, but then I wait until a person walks in front of him, and that's my photo. I gotta have that human being in the photo. So yeah, but yeah, street photography / travel would be it. Yeah.
And
Okay.
I love it too that Essdras certainly has a style that you can. Carol and I have often seen. We says, "Oh, that's got to be one Essdras because the silhouette, the way you have the lighting and the person framed, it's
It's
very distinctive."
I actually have was very influenced by Alex Webb, because before I saw the work of Alex Webb, I really thought that the good photos only happen at the beginning of the day and in late afternoon when the light was disappearing. I was told, in the middle of the day you can't make photos. And then I saw how this guy would take the chaos of daily life and the harsh lights and make him work to his favor, to his advantage. And I was like, I need to learn that. So I studied his style a lot, I'd recommend anybody to go see his work. Alex Webb, Konstantin Kostamanos is the one that is a master of that. He's with Magnum. But there are a lot of great photographers out there. You want to look at great street photography nowadays? You got to look at what's coming out of India. It's exploding out there. There's so many great. There's this guy by the name of Vinod Vora. The other day, I actually watched a presentation of him, the A through Z of street photography. He had every letter of the alphabet, and he had an example. And he had a word that went for it. It was amazing. It was really so. His name is Vinod Vora.
Well, interesting. You'll have to send me the names so I can put them.
I'll
make sure
send
I
it.
put
I'll
them
send
down.
it.
Great.
Yeah. So that's also to answer the question. To me, street photography also encompasses portraitures, because I will stop someone in the street. I mean, I might do candid portraits, really tight, emphasizing on light and whatever. But if I like a person or I find him interesting enough, I'll engage him and I'll chit chat with him, and then I'll actually do a portrait. It'll be on the street, but now I control the situation. If I'm with a group of people, I usually kind of chit chat with the person, and then I turn over the group and I say, guys, I have the best thing that can happen to us. We have a willing subject, and then everybody just falls on top of and the person just laughs. And to me, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's human experience, relationship. Creating rapport with your subject which to me is the essence of street photography and portrait photography.
Absolutely. And again, that's why you want to join one of Essdras' workshops. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I know we talked for hours yesterday. We could do the same today, but unfortunately our time is limited. So, hey, I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time. Thank you very much.
And please follow me in my Instagram.
Yes, Instagram. We're going to put all
that stuff.
Yep. And we're putting the show notes as well.
And also, the last thing I wanted to mention is, I know that the COVID has turned our world upside down, but that doesn't mean you cannot go out there and take photos. It just means you need to exercise common sense. I now don't focus so much on getting up close and personal with people, but I still compose beautiful images where I'm stepping back a little bit more. So don't be disheartened. We as human beings, we have survived everything, and we'll survive this one too. Just got to be patient and hope for the best.
Absolutely. So, muchísimas gracias una más vez.
Muy gusto.
And
gracias. Thank you.
We're going to have you on again if you were willing. So,
always.
Good. All right.
You guys will clap again?
Yeah, no, you're good. Ciao.
Oh, we can applaud you. Yes.
Bye-bye, guys. Thank you very much.
All right.